Flooding is not an accident. Connecting the dots. Why water, land, and decisions collide. Introduction. Why this booklet exists. Every time flooding hits, we argue about the same things. Clogged drains, heavy rain, poor discipline, informal settlers. These explanations feel satisfying because they are visible and easy to blame. But if they were the real causes, flooding should have ended long ago. This book began with a simple observation. Flooding keeps coming back despite decades of effort. That alone tells us something important. The problem is bigger than the explanations we keep repeating. Over time, what appeared as separate issues began to connect. Rivers upstream, a lake that cannot drain, projects that protect themselves, court cases that stall solutions, government offices working in isolation. Each problem made sense on its own. Together they formed a pattern. This book does not claim expertise or offer a grand solution. It simply steps back far enough to connect the dots to see flooding. Not as a surprise, but as a predictable outcome of how we build, decide, and delay. 1. When simple explanations fail. After every flood, the same question appears. Bakit binabaha na naman? And the same answers follow. Drains are clogged, trash is everywhere. The rain was unusually strong. These things are real, but they are not enough. If clearing canals solved flooding, Metro Manila would have stopped flooding years ago. Pumps have been added, rivers dredged, roads raised. Yet floods persist sometimes worse than before. When a problem survives decades of effort, it usually means we are fixing symptoms, not causes. Flooding is not just about what happens on your street. It is about what happens far upstream, downstream, and even at sea. Water moves as one system. Until we accept that, we will keep repeating the same explanations and wondering why nothing changes. You're not too. The hidden system beneath the city. Flooding rarely begins where it is felt. It usually begins far away. Rain falls not only on Metro Manila, but on mountains and plains in Pampanga, Bulacan, Rizal, and Nueva Ecija. That water moves through rivers, collects in lakes, and eventually tries to exit through Manila Bay. Here's the part most people miss. When the bay is already full because of tides, storms, or sediment, rivers slow down. When rivers slow, water backs up. When water backs up, flooding spreads inland. Pumps cannot force the sea to accept water it cannot hold. Laguna Lake works the same way. When it is full, it pushes back into the Pasig River. The result is predictable. Flooding is not local failure. It is a system reaching its limits. 3. Flooding never happens by accident. Flooding feels sudden, but it is never random. Many areas that flood today were once floodplains, natural spaces where excess water spread out during heavy rain. Over time, these areas were built on. Permits were issued, titles approved, communities grew. The land looked dry most of the year, so it felt safe, but water never forgot its path. When the system fills rivers, lake, and bay water returns to the lowest, flattest areas. Clearing canals cannot change this. Pumps cannot erase it. Flooding is not bad luck. It is the result of decisions made slowly over decades. Once we accept this, we stop blaming rain and start asking better questions. 4. Why pumps, dikes, and flood walls keep disappointing. Engineering helps, but it cannot cheat physics. A pump works only if there is somewhere for the water to go. A dike protects one area while trapping water elsewhere. A raised road keeps one place dry and floods the next. These structures fail when they are designed in isolation. One project cancels the benefit of another. Water always finds the weak point. Engineering alone cannot solve flooding. Without coordination, it only moves the problem around. 5. When big projects save themselves and flood others, large projects often protect themselves well. Airports, expressways, and developments are raised, embanked, and pumped. Inside the fence, everything works. Outside, flooding worsens. Water that once spread naturally is redirected into nearby communities. The project succeeds. The neighbors flood. This is not evil. It is incomplete thinking. The right question is not, will this project flood, but where did the water go? 6. Too many offices, nobody steering. Flooding is managed by many agencies, rivers by one, land use by another, housing by another, permits by another. Each office works, none controls the whole. Flooding does not respect mandates. A permit issued by one agency can undo the work of another. When things fail, accountability disappears. A system without a driver will always crash. 7. Why good projects die in court. Many projects do not fail technically. They die legally. One unresolved right-of-way case can stop a flood project for years. Costs rise. Political will fades. The flood does not wait. Courts protect rights, and they must. But when cases have no timelines, justice becomes delay. Over time, agencies avoid hard projects. Safer, smaller projects replace real solutions. 8. Why government can't see what it already knows. The information exists, but it is scattered. Flood maps in one office, titles in another, court cases elsewhere, plans somewhere else. Decisions are made blindly, not dishonestly. A proper digital government connects facts before damage happens. eGov is not an app, it is a shared reality. Without it, coordination depends on meetings and memory, and that always fails at scale. 9. Why waiting always feels easier. Real solutions take time, cross administrations, and create conflict. Waiting is quieter. So we study, delay, create task forces, issue statements. Each year of waiting adds more houses to floodplains, more pressure to weak systems, and higher costs. Waiting feels harmless until it isn't. 10. Seeing the whole picture. Flooding is not about one mistake. It is about many correct actions that were never aligned. Water, land use, engineering, courts, governance, and politics interact continuously. Separately, they make sense. Together, they determine outcomes. Once you see the system, you cannot unsee it. And once you see it, pretending ignorance is no longer an option. Belong. The helicopter view. Before cities existed, there was already a system. Rain fell on mountains, rivers carried it, lakes stored it. Everything flowed to the sea. From above, Metro Manila is one basin at the bottom of several watersheds. Pampanga River, Marikina River, Laguna Lake, Pasig River, and Manila Bay rise and fall together. Flooding is simply the system reaching capacity. Technical closing. From an engineering perspective, Metro Manila flooding is a capacity problem. Rivers, lakes, and tidal outlets all have limits. When rainfall exceeds combined storage and discharge capacity, flooding becomes inevitable. Structural measures can redistribute water, but cannot remove it without sufficient downstream and tidal capacity. This is why effective flood mitigation must be basin-wide, coordinated, and time-aware, integrating rainfall, land use, storage, conveyance, and tides as one continuous system. Until planning respects these physical limits, flooding will remain predictable, not accidental. The water will come again. This time, we should not be surprised. Are there solutions? Absolutely. It just requires commitment, political will, and most important, funding. Author's note. This booklet is written for the ordinary Filipino, the commuter, the homeowner, the worker, the parent who asks the same question every rainy season. Why does flooding keep happening? It is intentionally simplified. More elaborate and technically detailed explanations already exist in separate studies, engineering papers, and specialized discussions. Those materials examine individual topics in depth: rivers, flood control structures, land use planning, legal processes, and governance systems. They are valuable and necessary, but they are not always accessible to the man on the street. This paper takes a different approach. It brings these issues together in plain language, focusing not on formulas or technical detail, but on understanding how flooding and related national problems are connected. The goal is not to impress, but to explain, not to overwhelm, but to clarify. Flooding is often discussed in isolated parts. This paper simplifies the discussion so the bigger picture can be seen. Once that picture is clear, more technical discussions become easier to understand and more meaningful. This is not a technical manual. It is a guide to seeing the system as a whole, written so that anyone, regardless of background, can follow the logic and participate in the conversation. Inas. If this paper helps the ordinary Filipino understand flooding not as bad luck, but as a predictable result of choices in systems, then it has served its purpose.